What's going on, guys? Make A2. It's Make A2. Going to be doing a keyboard repair today, and I was just going to sit here and quietly do it by myself. But I figured I'd make a video about it. Maybe it can help somebody else out at some point. I'm going to be repairing my Microsoft Natural 4000 keyboard. You can see it's got tons of wear and tear. I've had it for like over 9 years. In fact, if you go back on my channel, I did an unboxing of this just over 9 years ago. So, just recently, past couple weeks, the C key. For no reason, the C key stopped working. Everything else was working. Nothing got spilled in it. Nothing, I didn't pound on it. It just, C key just gave it up. So then I'm going to show you how I found out what the problem was. Bad tracer on the board. Now I don't know why. Like I said, nothing was spilled in it. Just degrading over time, but we lost continuity on one of the traces, and I'm going to take it apart, and you'll see how I rigged it up with a piece of wire and some scotch taping, which affects my shift key and my control key on the left side. So we're going to fix it right, and to do that, we're going to use one of these Circuit Scribe circuit pens. This is basically just like an ink pen, only it has conductive ink. These are so cool. I had one of these when I was a kid, and I just thought it was magical. Like, look, Mom, I'm drawing wires. Obviously low voltage, very low current, but should be good enough to fix the keyboard. So let's jump into this. Okay, so the first order of business is we got to flip it over and take all the screws out. And actually, what I'm going to do first is I have a switch under the desk. I'm going to switch it off, and I'm going to flip it over. And some of these screws are stripped out because I've had this thing apart several times to clean it over the years. I've had this for 9+ years, so of course the feet was the first thing to break off. I always put my own little rubber feet. But anyway, I got the holes X'd off, the ones that I stripped out. I tend to over-tighten things, so let me get all these screws out of here. There's still quite a few. Okay, and once you got all the screws out and you got the top off, this is what you're going to look at. If you got a membrane keyboard, this is what you're going to see. I got a keyboard tester on the screen at the moment. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be that's the B key, that's the V key. Okay, the C key is this one right here. It's working right now. It's very intermittent the way I rigged it up, and you'll see it. So there's the C, and there's the X. On an interesting side note, here's my F1 key. My F2 key has never worked on this keyboard. There's my F3 key. My F2. Now, I've never took it back. It was like when I first got it, it never worked. But I don't use the F2. And really, my main computer is a laptop anyway, so if I actually needed it, I can always do it. So I never made it. So we're going to try to fix that while we're in here, too. Because I suspect it's going to be about the same problem. So here you got B, V, C. It's the third one over. Now, on this membrane stuff, this stuff peels off. You just peel it off and put it out of the way. And let me set the camera up a little better. And I have crafted this little suspension bridge out of fish string in order to give you the bird's eye view. So how cool is that? I'm a mad scientist. Okay, there we go. There's the phone. All right, we got to be careful not to bump the desk. Now, let me get the rest of the membrane stuff off. We're working right over the area where we got the camera, so... What you have inside here, just for those who don't know, is, let me turn the keyboard off real quick. You got 3 layers in here. You got a top conductive layer. Now, this is all conductive. There's no sheathing, there's no protection on this, which is why in the center you have just a blank spacer plate that keeps all the tracers from hitting each other. And you just have the circles where the individual keys, when you hit the keys, the top membrane is going to make contact with the bottom membrane, and that's what makes the key on the screen. Now, my brake was actually right over here. Let me move the camera a little bit. See if we can get it to balance over here. Give me 1 second. There we go. The brake, of course, you got to use an ohm meter to figure out. Let me show you how I did that. I have my meter set up here. Let's see. So that it gives you a tone on continuity. So basically you got an ohm meter. It's going to give you, I don't know if you can hear the tone. It's going to let you know when you have, now you have 2 sheets that you have to test. I didn't bother testing the top sheet because I found the problem on the bottom sheet. So you peel the top away, peel the protective, the center sheet away. Now keep in mind this is all conductive, so my brake was right, I want to say it was right in, let's see, it's right in here somewhere, I believe. Anyway, you can see I ran a piece of wire, I made a little hole there, and I ran a little piece of wire underneath, and this is my wire right over here, black wire. Hope it's showing up good. And I ran it all the way up to the top to where that trace lead leads. I had to find a place where I could tap into it. And I just did this with Scotch tape. So like I say, it's all conductive, so you don't have to worry about... If you could just get a piece of wire on top of it and Scotch tape it down, that's good temporarily. But that has proven to be problematic in that the key is very intermittent. Sometimes you got to push it really hard. Sometimes you got to like jolt the board around, because that's not a perfect connection by any means. But it was just temporary until I got a circuit pin. And you want to be careful taking the Scotch tape off, because you don't want to rip. This is a very, very thin plastic board. So just forget exactly how I did this. Okay, there we go. Anyway, the C key, what you want to do is trace the leads to the key that's not working. And I think we got that out there, no problem. And I traced basically on this bottom board. Now, the problem could be on the top or the bottom. And although this is the first time I've ever had this problem. I mean, like I said, there was nothing spilled in here or anything like that. So this was my C key. This is where the bottom C key tracer lead is. So, you can hear I got continuity there. And I got my wire disconnected. So, we're going to trace this lead all the way back. You're going to keep your one lead right on. This is all conductive, so you can just run along this lead, test it. And I think I found my problem right here. It almost looks a little burnt, although I don't know how it would have burned. I've got continuity there. See, it's the outside lead, so this is the same lead right here. I got no continuity there. See that? It's outside here. Nothing. Right in the corner here. Nothing. My break is right here. Right? See? So that's where we're going to make our repair for the C key. Break is... You know what? I bet this is the F2 key right here, so I bet that's all. This is... I don't have any connect, even though those are supposed to be connected. So what we're going to do, we're going to take our circuit pin. You can find these on eBay for really cheap. This was like $6 or $8 or something. This is a circuit scribe. This is just a conductive. It's just like an ink pen, only the ink is conductive. So what we're going to do is we're going to gently trace. And you may need a magnifying glass for this. Although I know what I'm looking at here. So let me see if I can do this without my... It's that trace right there. So... Yeah, let me grab a magnifying glass. This is really, really detailed stuff. You don't want to cross it with any of the other leads. Otherwise, you'll just create more problems. You'll put your keyboard back together and have all kinds of randomness going on. So you don't want to touch anything else. Okay. Okay, now I see. At least in our case, it's an outside lead. So if we have to come a little bit outside, we'll be okay. Now, I don't know if the camera's going to pick this up. And since it's an outside lead, I'm just going to come a little bit far wide of the mark. And I wasn't sure if this circuit pin was going to write on this plastic material, but it looks like it is. Although we might have to draw our lead a couple times. Now, if this break was on one of these inside leads, we would have to figure out something else because it's just too detailed. Myself, I don't have the eye to do that or repair it, but since this is, thank God, an outside lead, I am just going to make me a nice little mess of conductive ink between where I know it's working and the point where I think it loses conductivity. Now, let's see. Now we're going to put our tester between. You can see the idea. I know I'm probably not the best at this. I've never really liked working on small circuitry. I just don't have the hands or the eyes for it. So now we should have continuity. We don't. Okay. Let's see if we have it on the ink. We don't have it on the ink. Let me make sure I'm on the right spot on the board. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Wait a minute. I'm not touching something right. I do have a small piece of Scotch tape down here, so I need to make sure that I'm not touching that. Now, let me see. Okay, we're good now. Okay, I've got signal on the ink. I've got no signal further up. I've got signal right there. I should have signal here. Okay, so we got to work on a little more. You get the idea, though. What we're trying to do is create a circuit. I can see I'm not quite on the edge there. We're trying to connect. See, this is all plastic, so there's no way, you can't use solder. And you saw the rig job that I did with the wire. I mean, I'm surprised that worked at all. But I was thinking, man, I need to buy a circuit pin. Now, normal person would probably just buy a new keyboard. The problem is they don't make this keyboard anymore. And I really love this keyboard. It's always been a dependable keyboard. Like I say, you can go back and watch the unboxing video from over 9 years ago. So I've definitely gotten my money's worth. I cannot complain. Let's see. I see some conductivity on the meter. Not quite all the way there yet. But the numbers are moving. You don't hear a tone, but I do see some change in the numbers. Okay, so what we're looking for, we want to get that tone up here. Yeah, like I say, I kind of suck at this. I can see where the ink is a little messy, where it's not quite making a... Since I know I'm on the outside here, I'm just going to do this without the magnifying glass and make me a little mess here. I'm definitely painting a happy tree. Shout out to Bob Ross, good guy. Okay, I'm just going to take it all the way up here. We're just going to make a little... Man, if this was one of those inside leads, there's no way. There's no way it wouldn't be happening. Now this ink, I'm not sure if it's going to dry. I might put just a small piece of Scotch tape over top of it just to protect it from any rubbing from the center sheet. Let me see. Let me get on my C key down here. No. No. Let me make sure. I don't think I want it down here. Okay. I definitely have conductivity because I can see numbers moving on the meter. Three, 1. I'm not sure that this is going to work, actually. Might have to go back to my original idea of the wire. Let me see. Let me get a good look here. Yeah, I can see I've made a mess here. I don't see it touching the inside lead, though, so I don't... Yeah, I can see right where I think the break is. I think it's right there. There's like a little burn mark. Right there. Just gonna get enough of the material down on the board. That should give us conductivity. Let's see. No. Well, this might be a bust. Wait a minute, I'm not on the mark here. Okay. I definitely have... Let me pull the meter over here so you can see the meter. I definitely have some conductivity going on. Because if I put the meter there, if I touch C, we just don't have enough to make, and we should be reading a 0 there. Or right down, you know, something on a low range. Let me touch up here where I know the lead's good. Nothing up here. A little bit. That might be enough though. Let's see. Let's see. Let me since my rig job is disconnected. Let's put our... Let's see. I'm going to leave that in place though in case I do have to go back with it. It's going to be perfect. I just want to get this laying down again. I'm going to turn the keyboard on, and I'm going to see if I get a C key response. Okay, this is... Wait a minute. Let's see. Not getting any response. Wait a minute. Okay. Oh, I know why. My mouse is not over the circuit. Okay, let's try it now. I got a B key. I got a B key. I do have a C key. Look at that. The C key is working. And I am not hooked up to my rig, so... Apparently that's enough it's not, you gotta think in terms of real milliohms. You know, I'm wanting it to be a perfect 0, but... No, look at that. I'm hitting it, and the C is coming up on the screen. So, I'm gonna put it back together like this. Actually, let's go for that F2 key. Because it's not like it's a big deal. I'll never use the F2 key, but that's my F1 key. See, there's the F2 right there. Here's the F3. Let's, while we're in here, let's just see. Let me turn this back off. Okay. I've always been curious about the F2, although it's never been, you know. I'm gonna go ahead and remove my rig up wide, and I got a hole drilled through the board here, and that's being held down with a piece of Scotch tape. So I'm gonna be really careful here. Actually, I could probably leave the tape in place, and if I could just see the wire, the way it's coming under here, it messes with my control key and all my keys on that lower left side. Let me see if I can pull my wire out under the Scotch tape. Scotch tape can probably, let's see. Do I want to risk pulling it off and tearing the board? Of course, I'm an idiot. Oh, there we go. Got it off the bottom. Let's see if we can... I had to make that wire in 2 pieces. You can see there's still a piece of wire there. And I just kind of tucked it under the board. There's an elevated portion there. Since this is a ergonomic keyboard, there's an elevated ramp there. I got another little piece of Scotch tape holding. See, there we go. Let's get him out of the way. And if it's telling me I got enough conductivity on that C key, I'll leave it alone. The only goal here is to get the damn C key working the way it should without disturbing my lower left bank. And there's a piece of wire there. There, you can see it there. There you go. That's the rig up that I had, which did work. But like I said, if you hit the C key too hard, that contact wasn't reliable. That Scotch tape, it did it. You know, for a rig job, it did pretty good. But okay, now F2. Let me get the. Now, if that C key says it's going to work, I'll leave it alone. Although I'm not happy with the readings, but again, I'm thinking in terms of I need to be at a perfect 0 on my continuity, and you're talking millivolts and milliamps. You know, that's why I've never really been good with small circuitry. But if you know electricity, you know the basics. This is the F2 key. Let's start there and let's follow the trace. I got a tone. I think it's that same trace. This is an outside trace right here. Okay. Let me put my meter. I don't know if I can put it. Yeah, let me just put it over here where you can hear it. So here's the F2. Again, I don't know if the F2 is on the top or the bottom where the problem is, but while we're in here, let's just check it out. Okay, we're good there. Good there. I think it's this guy right here. Oh man, there's the break for the F2 right there. I don't know if you could see. I don't know how much the camera's going to focus if you're seeing any of this, but I got F2 conductivity right there. Got it there. That lead is the top lead here. I don't have it there. Look at that. There's your break. Between there and there. Holy shit. Well, you realize all we got to do then is draw a little bridge right there. on the outside there. And not like I was even aiming for the F2 key, but while we're in here, I went through the trouble of ordering the pin and all. Let's see, this is probably going to be a really long video, I don't care. We're just going to no editing. Yeah, I can kind of see a break there. Just a little one, so just give me that light. We're just going to branch off of the ink that we already have. And since it's an outside lead, we don't got to worry about being too neat. I'm not getting any ink. Hang on, sometimes you might have to scribble these. We're writing on plastic, so you got to give it a little leeway. No, I'm not getting anything out of it. Let's shake it if it does that. There we go. I got it. Shake it a little bit. There we go. Now, we're just going to go. Yeah. This is going to be a pain. Not wanting to give me ink. So I thought maybe this video can help somebody at least troubleshoot their keyboard if you have problems with random keys going out. I mean, I don't know why these leads go bad. Nothing was spilled in here. There was no, and maybe they just degrade over time. And like I say, I am not complaining. I bought this keyboard over 9 years ago. You can go back on my channel and watch the unboxing of this particular keyboard. Okay. I got a little line drawn there. Let's see what that does. Yeah, I'm going to take any reading on my meter as, let's see. You know that works. Let me come over here. I do have a reading on the meter. It's not perfect, but here, let's see if we have an F2 key. Now, I am wondering if that ink is actually going to dry solid to the plastic. It would if it was on paper, I know. But we may have, in the future, have to open this up and apply a little more over time, possibly. If using the keys, although, if anything rubs on that part too much, you might lose your contact, in which case, no big deal. You just open it back up and, redo what... Okay, I'm going to power up the keyboard. What do we say? This was F1 right here. F3. Wait, look at that. Holy shit. People. I'm getting F1 and F2 at the same time, though. That's not good. F3. Okay, F2 and F3 are coming in both at the same, or F1 and F2 are coming at the same time. So we must have something crossed. That's the first time ever this F2 key has worked, though. Let's see. We may have went slightly over the mark. Where's the F1 key lead? Let's see. He's coming around the center there. Yeah, I think I put... See, this is the hard part. If you go over those other lines, that's where you're going to have problems. I think I got a little bit... You need to take like a push pen, something with a really small head, and just kind of clear the where the problem might be. So you can just kind of scrape the ink out of the way. I think that might be it. That's the only thing I could see. All right, let's see if that works. That is the first time I've seen the F2 key work ever on this keyboard. And I didn't make a big stink out of it when I bought it because I was like, man, when do I ever use the F2 key? It wasn't worth it to me to send it back. And if that was the only thing that didn't work, I'm fine with that. I have an F2 key on the laptop should I need it for some reason. I don't believe I ever have. Okay, power up the keyboard. First of all, do we have our C key? We got B, we got V, we have C. Oh man, it looks like C and X are going at the same time. Shit. C and X are tied together. So, you see my dilemma here. Now we have C and X at the same time. But you know, at least we know we can get it. We just got to work on it a little bit. Let me do that, and I'll start the video when I get it all figured out. 15 minutes later, well, probably about 10 minutes later, I found the problem. It was that lead, that last lead we traced on the F2 key right there. It was touching the adjacent. So now, let's get this stuff back in order. And we should have independent C key and independent F2 key. And at that point, I would say we could put the membrane back together, put it all back together. And like I say, if we lose it in the future, this, you know, obviously the permanent fix would be to get a new keyboard. But let's see what we got here. I got B, V, single key C, 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 C all day long, X. Okay, now we got F1 independent of F2. Check that out. Wow, here we go. This is F1. That is F2. F3, and then down here we got B. That's because I held it down. If you hold it down, it'll just keep going. B, V, C, X. So there you go. That's how you repair a trace. You know, hopefully you could do it a little less messy than I did. Like I say, I've never been good with the small stuff. That's why I'm a residential electrician and not someone who works on circuit boards and shit, because it's just nerve-wracking to me. But, you know, I definitely a shout out to the Circuit Scribe pen. You know, if you're attached to your keyboard, and you don't want to get rid of it. You got a couple keys not working. If you want to go this way, you can find these on eBay for $6 or $8. You know, they're not expensive. This is just conductive ink. These are so cool to work on. They work good on small circuit boards, anything low voltage, obviously low current. You know, say I don't know if it's going to be a permanent fix, although you know that it might last for years. Who knows? And if it messes up, we know exactly what to do to fix it. We just open it back up. We just fill in a little bit of ink. And like I say, thank God, because you see how tight these lines are together. Like if this was a break between, you know, here and there, in the middle there, I don't know. I don't have the eyes or the precision. Maybe you guys do, but I wouldn't have the eye. I would have to go with my wire idea. I would just have to catch the lead over here somewhere where it's all by its lonesome and run a wire from here to there like I did here. But the problem with that was, like I said, that wire running under here was interfering with my control key, my Windows key, my shift key on the left side. So this is apparently, I got a C key, and I, for the first time ever, have an F2 key. So I'm going to put the... you know, it's just putting it back together. It's just the reverse of taking it all apart. You lay this stuff down there. Depending on your keyboard, maybe more or less complicated. So I'm going to put it back together, put the top back on, put the screws back on, and we'll catch you on the other side. Before we put the top back on, just a quick check to make sure it's all working. Make sure you replace all of your rubber membrane stuff on this keyboard. I have several little pieces, so you don't want to miss any of that. Also, if you take those two sheets apart, make sure that center sheet is in there, because like I say, everything on that board is conductive. There's no sheathing, there's no protection. That center sheet is what protects the top from the bottom. And if you don't have that in there, then you're just going to create a direct short for the whole thing. So I'm going to do a test. I think that's my C key. I'm going to start over here at the B key, I believe. B, 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 V, 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 C, 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 all day long. X and F1, F2. Look at that. I've never seen the F2 work on this keyboard. That's phenomenal. I'm going to assume everything else works because I didn't make a modification anywhere else. But if you want to use this is just keyboardtester.com. It just pops open a page, really easy to use. Good resource to... I'm going to go ahead and just make sure everything else is working. I have no reason to believe that it won't be. And then we'll put the top back on and we'll wrap this up. We got it all back together. We got B, we got V, C. Working perfect, and my shift and my control and everything's working good. And I have an F1 and an F2. Check that out. That blows my mind. My F2 key has never worked. So there you go. That is membrane keyboard repair 101, roughly. You know, I know I'm not very good at it, but because, like I said, small circuitry's never been my thing. But, you know, if you're attached to a keyboard that you're not ready to let go yet, Microsoft unfortunately stopped making this keyboard. This has been my keyboard for like my whole life since I've been on a computer, since I've been on the internet. You can see how much wear and tear. This thing has typed literally thousands of Jericho reports. I would buy the same keyboard any day of the week. Like I say, over 9 years I've gotten out of this. and it is a great port. They do have an updated version that they call an updated version, a little bit different, but basically the same. I may have to get that at some point. I know that this thing, if one trace randomly broke for no reason, then how long is it going to be before we have more problems? But, for right now, for tonight, I got my C key, I got my F2 key, and, hopefully this video can help somebody out if you're looking to repair your keyboard. I'm not ready to give this thing up yet. In fact, I might go buy the new one and just keep this one as a backup. I don't know. It's good to have a backup. And I don't know how long it'll be before my trace is broken again, although I did put gobs of it. Like I said, if that was somewhere in between all those, there's no way I'd be able to. Maybe somebody with steadier hands or better eyes could run that trace. The pen should be thin enough. I mean, it's just a ballpoint. It should be, if you have precision, it should do the job for you. Otherwise, we would have had to come up. I would have had to leave my wire thing intact. But thankfully, it was an outside trace, and all went well. Please tell me your thoughts. Have you ever repaired a keyboard? Ever thought about it? Do you have any random buttons on your keyboard that doesn't work? If you want something to do, if you're bored, you want to sit around and take it apart and see what you. Like I said, you can get these pens on eBay for really cheap. This is called Circuit Scribe. $8, something like that, really cheap, and they're handy to have around if you do any sort of small. Like I said, I've used these on smaller circuit boards over the years. Nothing on high amperage or high volts or high current, but definitely to fix minor stuff where you don't want to break out, or you can't break out. In this case, a soldering iron. There's no way you could solder anything in this plastic. So it worked good. I got C key, V key, F1, F2, everything's working. So that's all I got. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you made it to the end of this video, please give me a thumbs up or give it a thumbs down if you thought this is the worst of the internet. I know I look like crap, whatever, it's the middle of the night. But hey, my C key is working and my F2 key is working. Right on!